Well, welcome to Love Healing, Mr. Ross.
Yeah, well, you can call me Michael. It's fine. Mr.
Okay,
Ross,
okay,
just
Michael
you
Ross.
just call me Michael. Yeah, I'm Mr. Ross.
So on this episode, I want to find another word besides excited because that doesn't quite rise to the level of what I feel being able to talk to you every time I do because there's so much insight with you. And I don't know, I don't have the word, but whatever that word is, I'm glad that I get to share you with our audience today. And we talk about healing and journeys and all the things and how things help us. And today I want to talk to you about yours. I want to know, who is Michael Ross? And
Well,
what
that's
is your
yeah.
journey? I know like it'll be like a synopsis, but what's that journey look like on your end? And how did you what are your healing mechanisms?
Yeah, the who am I? That's always an interesting question because we're always. I look at myself as an ever evolving being, and that's on a daily basis. Journey of self exploration and discovery, and tapping into levels of awareness, and that journey is an inward journey. We don't always realize it, but it really does start inwardly. I think most of us identify with the external environment, and the things that we experience through what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, at a very in my life, just kind of, and I don't often reflect back on it, off to tell you the truth. But you come from sort of a disempowered environment, and an environment where you're pressed to believe in sort of limiting belief, lack and limitation, and self-limiting beliefs. And when you are in environments where there's a constant sort of drumbeat or dialogue that is also amplifying those sort of self-limiting beliefs. How do you, shake that? How do you shatter that? And that becomes an internal process. We're often, we all are exposed to various levels of different types of trauma in our life, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe we're all suffering from various forms of PTSD without actually being aware of it. But even more so, how to begin to heal from those things, right? Those life experiences. We carry oftentimes our past along with us as if it's a badge of honor, ball and chain and all, right? And no matter how debilitating that is, we want to continue to tell those same stories about our past experiences. And, it's important to me to always be more mindful of where we are at the moment, and are the things that we're doing, are they affirming the journey and the ideal of ourselves, and that's an inward process. So for me, I guess to answer your question without rambling, it's like I think for me, I think at a young age I discovered without being aware of a vehicle, I think that helped me to move away from sort of self-destructive patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for us, when I say us, I think for young African-American males in particular, without sort of a structured environment or environment where you're mentored, or you don't have, let's say you don't have a father figure or a father in your life, you have a tendency to then become a byproduct of the external environment. The things we're going through now in our society, that we've been going through is no coincidence. It emotes the lack of our capacity to want to really recognize and go through a healing process collectively.
Yeah.
But, just kind of being on a path of sort of self-destruction, I actually stumbled across this, finding activities. And I used to be involved in like various sports, football and track and things like that. And then one sort of misguided summer, I was in a program, and then I found a little weight room, and I started like lifting weights, and I just like, wow, that just really resonated with me, because it gave me a way to channel all that, I hate to say, all that sort of anger that I felt as a young man. I really did. I had a lot of but what I realized, that those were issues around my self-image, a self-image that was baseless. When you have a society where there's a narrative that's telling you you're inferior, or that you're not worthy, and you begin to believe that. And then when you see sort of folks around you that are living it out, it's hard to say, oh, gee, that's not true, because all the evidence, the material evidence, at least around you, is bolstering that sort of false construct.
Right.
But, the moment I got an opportunity to start to, and again, it's like everything in life, the journey starts with the first step, right? And so it was a first step, but I was like, wow, you know what? I found something that resonated with me. But and the more I did it, the more it allowed me to shift my focus from things that were self-destructive to things that were more constructive, but what I began to realize, though, really our outward appearance and bodies is a small part of ourself.
Right.
It really is. And, but it led me to be more sort of reflective, thinking from things from the inside. So the thoughts began to shift, but I don't think it's any coincidence either, because, what exercise do, it changes our biology, those endorphins get released,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we don't even realize, and again, not being consciously aware, but, you begin to tap into a new chemistry within yourself. There's a wonderful book, and I love Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, You Are the Placebo, right? And so
Right.
instead of, putting like things that were necessarily bad in my body, I started to put things that were actually good in my body. But not only from the perspective of, the food you eat, or the beverage you decide to drink or consume, but it began to be in the form of, the things that we're feeding our minds, so it was information, literature. And the more, I began to sort of tap into those things, the more empowered, I became and began to feel. And so that always helped me, and being a child that had when I say no stability in life, I mean, we would move around like tumbleweeds, and from like hotel rooms to like one room, flats where you walk down a couple of flights of stairs to use the bathroom, or, I mean, it was like, we'd be like moving every few months, or, or mom would send us off to aunties, one of my aunts, and we didn't know that she just, we just got evicted probably, or we had no place to live, but we'd be with aunties for a couple of months, and then mom would come get us again, and we'd be back in these various environments. And so, and so having lived in a lot of different and diverse environments, and they weren't all bad. I mean, honestly, as I reflect now, I mean, all those experiences made me the person I am today. And those early challenges, though, what I realized gave me an ability to adapt to a lot of variables. But it also what I realized is it forced me to look within.
Yeah.
And it is so important to live from, the inside out versus the outside in, so that's, and so now I do, I've done various things. I've spent a lot of my life in hospitality industry, and, as an operating partner, general manager, blah, 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 all that nonsense, but I've also, done other various ventures, and, I owned a fitness center. I owned a Snap Fitness. And so I
Right.
owned a gym for several years, and, personal trainer through NASM and AFA. I used to be an EMT. So, just always looking for some sort of vehicle or something that I felt connected with sort of, who I was, that represented me. And what I realized that all those journeys really took me back to, I know, a journey of self-discovery, self-development, personal development, and personal and professional development. And so, I do coaching with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and I'm a coach and consultant with them. So I work with individuals and businesses to, just help with really identifying, what are those things that you wanted to, achieve, while at the same time, I get to learn a lot more about, my own journey and myself, and finding new ways and vehicles to express those things. So that's always very impactful. Yeah.
We are still all works in progress. I think I just said that on the last episode, where people come to me, some of my clients, they come to me and they think that I have all the answers. I'm going to take their pain away. I'm going to be able to tell them how to undo what took them 40 years, some of them, to knot up in their body in like 5 minutes. And I'm like, I'm not an oracle, but what's going to happen is you will begin to notice, and you will begin to feel in your body, hey, this is off and that is off. And this is, oh yeah, Tiffany said, whatever. Or maybe you'll go and pick up a book. And same with me. I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to go and try to find them. I'm going down this healing journey. So from yoga and meditation and, metaphysics, epigenetics, the secret, the flowers and sacred geometries and Egyptology, right? But it always comes back to, as you said, myself, and starting inside of me. So if you're not willing to hold up the mirror, so to speak, and start with yourself, start the work with yourself, it doesn't matter what you project outwardly. Because whenever there's inauthentic interactions, you're really isolating your true self.
Yeah, that's just so, well said. Thoughts matter, right? Think about it. We're in, if you were to believe in sort of the quantum field and the quantum physics, everything is at a frequency of vibration, right? Everything, so it's like welcome to the matrix. But, but thoughts do matter, right? Thoughts matter. Thoughts are matter. Thoughts become matter. And so when we become consciously aware of that, then and we can begin to self-direct our thoughts, then we will see, a shift in our reality, in the things we materialize, our health, our well-being, our state of mind, the relationships we attract. The material things in our 3D world are sort of how we gauge things, but it's also, the perception of how we begin to define things will begin to shift. And so, we could look at us, as I was talking earlier about, like, at one stage, I looked at my past as very sort of disempowering, or, like a bad thing. Now I look at it as, wow, no, the perception's changed of it. It's like, wow, what a wonderful experience to have had, to have gone through, to get me to where I am now, to have the tools to be able to maneuver on a daily basis. And, especially, again, I hearken it now because we're at such a profound sort of point right now, sort of a crossroads, I think, in our society, as our collective consciousness, and every one of us, I think, is being challenged to, look within and to find vehicles to begin that healing process. And so much of that is about, staying in the present moment, so you're empowered. And I always encourage that. Again, the most important conversation is the conversation you have with you. What are
Yeah.
you telling yourself? What are you exposing yourself to, right? When you first thing in the morning when you wake up,
Yeah.
are you turning on the idiot box? Are you reaching for that phone, that device? Or are you taking a time to maybe have a moment of reflection to allow yourself to, awaken fully into the day that you want to design for yourself? And on the other end of that is when that last thought of the evening, when you lay down at night, what thoughts are you populating in your mind? Are they empowering thoughts, or are they something else? I know one of the things that I use, and I was talking about that earlier, is are frequencies and vibrations that play
Yes.
while I sleep, because I know that it's almost like a little biohack into the subconscious. That it is, creating a vibration, a frequency of harmony that helps align with your true self.
Yes, I agree with that. I used to play jazz and classical music for Daniel to put him to sleep when he was a baby.
Mhm.
And even now, sometimes he'll be like, Mom, can you just put on that music? And, and I'm grateful for that, because I think that helps him. He doesn't know why I do it, but I do feel like it helps him to not only calm down and get out of that gaming world, and the like, school is high stress right now because they're all virtual. So just to get out of that and actually go to sleep, and then allow his thought waves and all the things to just kind of come back into harmony. He doesn't realize that, but then he wakes up in the morning and he's like a nice, happy child. I can deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's so true. I mean, I think about like when, my son, Cheryl, was pregnant with our son, Keegan. And I would always just, talk to him while he was in the tummy.
Mhm.
And he would respond. And, I can't sing, but I would do my various versions of whatever I was doing. But it was amazing, though, that the moment he was born, that he came out of the womb and heard my voice, the response was just
Yeah,
incredible.
he already
And
knew.
so, yeah, again, that's that vibration, those frequency, and the impact it had. And you planted that subconsciously, so even now it's still part of the programming. It's already sort of hardwired in there, in the DNA. So, and that shows you, though, again, a window on how it all works, right? Because think about it, we're programmed at birth largely, right?
Right.
And the program can be, there's no judgment. It's good, bad, and different. I don't believe in terms like necessarily good and bad or that. It just is, right?
Yeah.
But it's how we navigate as we become more and more aware of those various programs. How do we again tap in and turn on that part of us that does help us identify our path and our purpose. And so a lot of that requires a reprogramming and rewiring ourselves so we can begin to move into that, if it's health and wellness related, or whatever it is, we've got to believe, instead of grabbing a pill, we are so uniquely designed that our bodies heal themselves. Once
Absolutely.
so the
If you
frequencies
give
of
it a
thought.
chance. Yeah, if you give yourself a chance, if you give yourself a fighting chance, if you're not filling your body with a bunch of negativity, if you're not filling it with a bunch of saturated fats and high fructose and sugars and the quick easy things that are available to most Americans, I will say, if you can filter that out. I love that you said rewire and repattern, because I've been kind of describing it as the stripping away. So when we're younger, we for me, for example, I grew up Southern Baptist. So everything that I knew about, that was my programming. you know, there's only one way to get to heaven. This is the only right religion. There's this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong. You only live the 10 commandments. Meanwhile, everybody's doing the opposite. So to me, I had to like strip all those things away and say, what feels real and what doesn't make sense? And then I looked at a few other philosophies and schools of thought and religions and spirituality practices. And I said, there's something similar in all these things. And that's what's got to probably be the truest truth. So
Yeah,
that's my rewire.
But think about it, we have a guidance system and it is this natural guidance system, dis-ease is just that. When we get uncomfortable, we're simply becoming consciously aware of being out of balance, out of sort of that homeostasis. And it is, when we talk about tools, so one of the things I'm big on is gratitude. So, one of the things, first thing I do every morning is I get up and I write gratitude, right? Now I've got this, I filled this up, right? And it has a lot of things, but so every day for over 400, because there's over 400 and some pages in here, I've been writing things that, today I am grateful for, and could be my perfect health, an open heart, my home, life experiences, fresh air, nature's beauty, the moon, the stars, the sun, the wind, and so, and I know I'm left-handed, but I write everything right-handed. All my gratitudes are written in my right hand, nice. Rewiring and reprogramming the synapses. So it's trying to bring sort of a hemi-sync together, right?
Yes.
And left-handed, but no, I write right-handed. And then I write, I am so happy and grateful now that I realize my spiritual DNA is perfect and that perfection is within me. And I begin each day looking for areas of my life where I want to see that perfection expressed habitually. So I've been doing this for like over, God, I don't know, this book here, like I said, it's a big book. It's over a year. And I hadn't gotten another book yet, but then I said, I've got to change it. So I've been writing in another book now. But now instead of printing and like I was there, I'm writing in cursive. It's, it sounds like trivial stuff, right? But what I realize is it's the little things that we do that affirm. It's the little things. It's just that first thought you have of wanting to do and having a desire. That's where it begins. We have to just give it the gravitas. We just have to keep nurturing that small droplet and see what comes of it. Because if we can find within ourselves the ability to discipline to stay focused on the thought, if it's daily gratitude, it changes our vibration and state of being. Our thoughts become more elevated, and so that's a tool I would recommend to everybody. How much does it take? You don't have to write it down. Have the thought going on. You don't have to write it physically, but I like to connect with pen and paper. Again, finding ways to reinforce patterns of behavior, positive patterns, impactful. Let me say this way: impactful patterns of behavior, with the desire to move towards, and connecting with yourself on deeper levels. So that's one of my tools, if you will.
That's actually amazing. So there's a thing called cross-crawl therapy. I'm sure you've heard of it, where they use this with quadriplegics and people who have had accidents or strokes and suddenly one side of their body doesn't work. Taking your right hand over to the left side of your body and then trying to get a muscle on the left side to work by touching it from the right fires off all kinds of synapses in your brain to say over here on the right hemisphere, like go down there to that muscle and make it work. And then you have a muscular innervation, which is the renewal of the nerves and nerve stimulation back to the brain. And so something as simple as, I never even thought about it as like writing with your opposite hand, same, but now it's straight to the brain. And then you're going to be thinking about things differently. So I've noticed as I do cross crawl in one of my practices, now I might reach for something with my left hand instead of my right, but I'm right-handed, but I've started to unwind the habitual pattern of always going right, always doing this, always doing that, always looking at something from one point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it sounds like a whatever, most people are like, whatever. But and it really does. Again, it's the little things that are impactful. But we, think about it. We are creators, right? And we're always creating. We're always creating. But more often than not, we are coming from a place of victimization. So we don't realize that we're creating the things that we're experiencing. We absolutely are. And we're attracting those things, to our experiences as well. And it's just becoming, it's the little things. We are a society of certainly instant gratification.
Yes.
And sometimes that's, that noise can be, we don't realize it can be debilitating though, because it may be pulling us away from ourselves when we can, we talked about earlier, like, getting a quick fix of simple sugar in our body that gets us energized, versus, going through a process that's maybe more naturally energizing, right? Like just quieting the mind for a moment. Yeah. And sort of slowing things down because, we're, again, the illusion of just because we're moving fast. I was telling this young man the other day, just because you're moving fast doesn't mean you're being efficient.
Right.
So, so slow, if, oftentimes it's when you slow down. I notice when I'm running, when I run relaxed, I run my fastest. But when I'm running and I'm stressing out, trying to, that's when the system starts to like fight against itself. Force negates,
Yes.
And so it's trying to, again, remain present, and allowing that central nervous system, those pathways to just really be optimized by that process of almost just really letting go. It's like letting go. So, yeah.
I think that a lot of us live with, and you said PTSD, but also there's a thing, it's GAS, that's the acronym, but it's General Adaptation Syndrome. Mm-hmm. And it's where you live in a heightened sense of awareness all the time, kind of like, so your sympathetic system is taking over all the time, which was useful back in the day when we needed to run away from animals and, actually survive so we needed everything to go to our external extremities, our feet and our hands and everything else, so we could run and live and survive. But now we're having the exact same internal response to something like, my phone won't turn on, or I can't open this jar of peanut butter or whatever. Right. And so taking a minute to just slow down is going to be so imperative to our collective shift. Slowing down your yoga practice, slowing down your thought process, slowing down your reactionary process. So it's, you hear when you're young, think before you speak. I would even say think and then feel before you speak. So if what you're about to say, if that doesn't even feel good to you, I don't think it should come out of your mouth.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It is. And, I love that because I often say, there's two states most people are in. They're either reacting or responding. And so, typically if we're in a reactionary mode, we're in an emotional state. We are, being sort of, we're reacting. Responding is when we are taking that moment to pause, to allow sort of the external, not become a byproduct of sort of an external occurrence that we're reacting to. Now the occurrence is taking control of us. It's like someone, was riding too close and drives around us and gives us a bird, and we're in a state of, oh my God, and we're carrying that with us all day. But it's just being sort of aware of saying, what, this person, hey, they're in a hurry for whatever reason. And, I'm not going to take it personal. And you start looking at things from a more objective point of view. And so you're responding to it versus reacting. And that's, again, that's the state you want to be in, because that means you're more presently, consciously aware. And you're not allowing outside sort of influence have that kind of control over you, you know. And that's, you know, easier said than done, because, you know, we all, I mean, even myself, I mean, you know, this, you know, I mean, again, we're in such a tumultuous time.
Yes.
And we're all being pressed in ways I don't think we ever imagined, you know, certainly. Things like a pandemic, and we're in all these sort of these weird, strange, bizarre sort of things that we're experiencing as a society. But we do have to realize that our collective consciousness has created this environment.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also heal from it all. And it is forcing us all, I believe, to slow down. But, you know, it's being able to navigate through it. And as it becomes more prolonged, you know, how are we navigating in a healthy way to get through this process? What are we reaching for to aid us in, you know, being able to maintain a healthy state of mind, our mental health, our spiritual health, our physical health, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we should be promoting, you know, preventative ways to stay in balance and harmonious and healthy, right? And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? And so one of the things we're doing to, you know, to create that right environment, that a new, healthier, more robust environment where we can be, you know, as people, we can feel and be and know we are connected. You know, every little thing that we do, you know, it's a butterfly effect, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, every thought and every sort of thing, feeling and thought and things that we do, and it radiates outward and, you know, into the world and the cosmos. So, you know, understand that it does affect and impact, you know, we impact our environments every day. So, and, you know, I try to be more and more aware and sensitive to that, you know, because a lot, you know, when you work with people a lot at the time, you have to be, you know, I think it makes you more sort of consciously aware of your actions, of your state of being, you know,
Yeah.
especially when you're in the healing arts as you are, you know, I would imagine you find yourself more anchored to that sort of awareness of and how you are in those energy centers impacting, you know, if it's your clients or your friends or family, you know, the conversation at the moment, right?
Right. I think that there is a hyper awareness for people in the healing arts, as you put it, to go back to themselves. So it had become where it was full of philosophies and hyperboles and like what ifs and what could be's, and theoretically this is what is right, but they didn't actually have, a lot of the leaders didn't actually have the true experience of what they were saying or teaching really felt like in their body or in their immediate circle. So now it's come up with something small like Black yoga teachers, and a lot of non-Black yoga teachers are saying, well, we didn't even realize that Black people did yoga. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That is crazy
Yeah.
to say something like that.
Well, you know what I've been realizing in living in the environment that I'm in now. I mean, I live in Sedona, Arizona, and you know that. And it's a very, you know, we live in these silos.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have an opportunity to intersect and interact in these in very different environments, obviously Sedona is very different from Atlanta. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like day and night. But you also realize how, you know, when it comes to issues around, you know, Black or white or race, however we want to identify, you do realize it. You realize that people are so, again, programmed in sort of these false constructs.
Yeah.
And the illusion, right? that they somehow, yeah, it's like something like, oh, I didn't know that Black people do yoga. Oh, I didn't know you. You know, it's just, it is weird. It's even the things that, and what I'm beginning to realize more and more is they're not even aware of what they're saying oftentimes, because there's no reference point. Because if I've never interacted with anyone that looks different from me, or comes from a different environment, or has different life experiences, and all of my perceptions are so sort of are really kind of hardwired, then you realize in the language that's used that, oh wow, there is a deficit,
Right.
and it's not, it's not your deficit, it's their deficit, um, being a byproduct of this very sort of homogenized environment that in many ways propagates a lot of sort of these false narratives,
Right.
that we all have about each other,
Mm-hmm.
which are disempowering. And so we live in a culture like that, a culture of sort of a disempowered culture, where there is a lot of victimization. There's like, a lot of sort of things driven by sort of, egoic, that are guilt-based, that are,
Yeah.
weaponized fear-based, false evidence appearing real. But it's not until we kind of all let down the guard that we can begin to realize, oh, gee, we share so much more in common than differences as human beings. So, but it is odd. I mean, that we have to, unfortunately, identify. It's like, Black Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
and but we also have to like acknowledge, this country has to acknowledge its history. A history that was built on, the genocide of its indigenous people and chattel slavery.
Yeah.
And it's refusal to really acknowledge that, and so we see that coming to bear.
Yes.
The elements of a pandemic that attacks one's respiratory system, and the dynamic of I can't
I
breathe.
can't breathe. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm telling you, the universe is just playing. It's like the universe has such a, I don't want to call it a sense of humor, but it is uncanny. There's an irony to all of it. And it's like, it's trying to shake us and say, hello,
Right.
what else do I wake up, get woke, right? And, and I can only hope and I have to believe that those are things that are happening. Change, the way I look at it is this way, that, there's really only two ways that we really begin to change. And the first way is through really having to experience some traumatic event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trauma. An example, obviously what we're going through now is a traumatic event. There's trauma. We may not be readily acknowledging it. It is trauma, but what we could probably identify with is an event like a singular day, like 9/11. Right?
Yeah.
When everybody, you could feel the ripple. Everybody can probably remember exactly what they were doing that day and at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was a traumatic event. It shook our collective consciousness as human beings. And we were good for about 8 weeks or so. And then we all went back to our patterns. And then it began to, become sort of this back to our sort of tribalism and the weaponization of things, the manipulation of an event that should have, continued to bring us together. And then the other way that we begin to change really is through habit, is repetition. Repetition. That's why I write every day, for over a year with my right hand, because now, my right hand, I write better with my right hand than my left, honestly. It looks more magical. But it's repetition, though. And that's the same thing with the way we think. I mean, I know for myself to grow and build and develop my business, it requires me to do my business and to expose myself to the material every day. I have to do it every day, to become a byproduct of that, the thing, to help others in areas of wellness, and to have those tools to assist, on the path to having a more sort of, I don't know, elevated, richer experience, right?
Yes, you said something a while ago that when you were younger, you were able to channel your, what could have been a destructive pattern into something positive, and that was with your workouts. Is that kind of also how you still help people see things or do things with your Fit Over 50? Or do you, is it all mental? Is there a physical component? What, because you're very in shape, so I want to tell the people, don't lose that, don't go so far into this metaphysical world of mentality that
Right. Well, yeah, what you find is, so, as human beings, we're meant to be physical. I mean, we're meant to channel. That's why we have these bodies, that they're designed to perform different tasks, to be functional, to be
Yeah,
healthy, because we want to be able to house our spirit in a healthy vessel. And so, again, as I talked about earlier, not consciously aware, but the chemicals that start to be able to sort of percolate, the endorphins and the different things that begin to impact you, and you have elevated those feel good feelings from working out and exercise. So exercise is an important part. And again, it's repetition. So it went from, me maybe having to drag myself out to do something, to eventually it becomes just a lifestyle, a pattern of just what you do and who you are. And I mean, I couldn't imagine not doing things to challenge myself physically. I like to challenge myself in different ways. So if it's, now at 50, over 50, I'll be 58 in a few months. And, I've shifted from, maybe lifting weights and things like that to more sort of functional training, functional movement patterns,
yeah,
cardiovascular aerobic activities. That's why, today I ran like 5 miles, and I usually, I'll run, I don't know, I probably about 20, 30 miles a week or so. And I still do some lifting, but I'll do some stretching and different things. And it's important too. And the reason why I do the Fit Over 50 is because, again, time is not linear, right? But, but we identify, we think, oh, they're 50 years old. It's like, like you're like some, you're just, on that downward slope and sinking fast. But I just like to use that as a vehicle to, hopefully it inspires people, and honestly, younger people, to say, wow, this guy, is in pretty good shape. And, and so it's really just to encourage that. And it's, I always say, find the right vehicle for you, to do those things. And, I always continue to it's important to also have goals. I've got, one of my goals, fitness goals and wellness goals, is to do an Ironman. So,
wow,
yeah. So, I was doing Spartan races for a while. And I loved those just because there were so many different applications of not only, endurance and agility and strength and power, and just getting yourself uncomfortable, and I love making myself uncomfortable. So I like to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
yes,
That's like my thing. I don't want to be comfortable ever. I don't, because when you're comfortable, you're stagnant, you're not growing. And that's not what we're here to do. I mean, you're either existing or you're living.
right,
So for me, it's like, let's choose to live and find different ways that we can explore life. It's, moving from Atlanta where, my wife and I, had a pretty comfortable life, and to come here, to Sedona, people are like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? Why would you leave? Or, I mean, what are you thinking? You know?" But I can tell you, you know, we did a vision board, right? We were doing some visioneering, right? And on that vision board, we had Sedona, and specifically, we had there's a rock formation that's called Bell Rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we smacked that right in the middle of our vision board, and lo and behold, we look out of our window, our bedroom window, and what do we see? Bell Rock. I mean, and you know, and there's other things on it, you know, and I don't want to sound materialistic, but I put like a Range Rover on there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting. And our son had come home for Christmas, and I let him borrow my car, my car that I had then. I had another car, and he had an accident, and so that triggered, you know. And I said, well, let me go look for a car, and you know, so I happened to go to a parking a dealership, and sitting right there was the car I put on my vision board, almost to the T exactly. And so it was the universe again. I mean, resonating with the universe. The vision boarding, visioneering is how we begin to consciously be the creators of sort of our destiny, our life experiences, if you will. And that's the power of that. And so my wife and I tell you what, it seemed like she had, like, I don't know, spirit was moving through her, because she came up with this vision board box. And it's a wonderful, it's like, you know, a kit with everything you need in it, right?
Oh, yes.
And it's just, you know, and it has in it an instruction booklet, a little book you can journal in, and then it has different empowering words, and you know, you can get to add to it. It has a poster board in there, and so, you know, highly recommend. Again, if you want to talk about tools, it is about, you know, you taking control of you.
Mm-hmm.
And a vision board is a wonderful way of, again, channeling and focusing your energy. It's self-directing. And so, you know, I'm looking at it at the corner of my eye, the one we created, and I can check things off the box, if you will. There's still a lot of things on there that we still have yet to do, but there's a lot of things we've accomplished on there.
Right.
You know, and you know, I'm a big believer too. We've got to, again, be aware of the language we're using and the things that we're doing. You know, often we are so critical of ourselves, and some of that just comes from our past conditioning. And some of it comes from us, you know, our imagination, and we're using our imaginations in the wrong way by gazing out into a future that we don't want.
Right.
A vision board, though, allows you to use your imagination to focus the energy on the things you do want.
Yes.
Right. And that's what it is, you know, and if people really began to think about it, it's, you know, if I'm focusing on, you know, not having enough money, guess what I'm going to end up with?
Not enough money.
Right. But if I'm focusing on how am I going to make more money, how am I going to make more money? What am I going to do to make more money? Then guess what? I'm going to find a vehicle that's going to allow me to generate that income, more money. And so it is, you know, and our imagination is one of our higher faculties. Just like our perception is one of our higher faculties. Yep. Our willpower, you know, that's one of our higher faculties. Our memory, you know, is one of our higher faculties. Our ability to reason, right? And our intuition. And I've always had a very heightened sense of intuition, and it is my guidance system, really my intuition. And, you know, I'll often have people say to me, "Oh, things just seem to happen and come easy. You don't try." And there's this impression that, you know, that I'm not always working hard, you know, on myself and working hard to acquire things. You know, my methods may not always seem conventional, but, you know, I mean, they work most of the time for me, you know, I mean, so, you know, and I can only go by that. Now, it's not to say that, hey, there are things right now that I know that I have to recognize within myself that may be creating blocks for the next quantum leap, you know, I think about, being young and, again, even my wife and I, we living in some little one room apartment, you know, and, driving a hoopty, from there to where we are now. But, you think about, you know, you think about how many people are stuck,
Right.
that are
Yeah,
just
the
stuck.
loop. Hmm.
Think about friends and family, that have stayed, that are still, they're left in the wake, left behind. And now, unfortunately, it's not that you don't love them unconditionally, but you get to a point where folk in your past that you can't even, you no longer, well, there's no commonality to the degree, other than maybe some past, maybe
Yeah.
something in your past history, but but people can't even, they're not even able to sort of connect with you or resonate with you because they're on these totally different vibrational levels and frequencies,
Yes.
you know but all you can do is just try to, you know lead by example and encourage, and, again, love unconditionally,
Right.
level of vibrational energy.
You can only lead others as far as you've led yourself, but even then, they have to want to go. They have to want to change. They have to want to grow. They have to want to do it for themselves.
Right.
But as long as you're putting out whatever, highest good you can, that's all you can do.
Yeah, that is all you can do. And you realize in that journey, yeah, it is. I mean, I realize that, I have to, again, like I said, I've got to keep doing and reaching for information. If it's a book, you've got to, what are you feeding yourself um, um, on a consistent basis? You have to be consistent. But to your point, I mean, all of us have to be able to look at ourselves objectively. There are no mistakes, only lessons.
Yes.
There are no mistakes, only lessons. And oftentimes, if we see sort of a repeated occurrence of something, it's to say that you haven't learned a lesson.
Yeah.
So, but once you learn the lesson, we get to move up to the next rung of the ladder. Once we've learned the lesson, but then guess what's waiting for you?
Another lesson.
Another lesson, exactly. Another lesson. Absolutely.
Well, I could certainly attest to the vision board, and we'll be dropping the links for that so everybody can order one. But I have one, and I started it, and then I was like, no, I want to do a vision board party at the studio with women, and I could already see that it's going to be a powerful tool for everyone that does it, because it not only, you guys are so brilliant how you put this together, Mrs. Ross. She has it where it could be for younger people, teenagers, women, and it doesn't matter where you are in your life or whatever. You can make it about one thing. You can make it about intention. You can make it about spirituality, about health, or you can put all of those things, and there's no limitation. And the words and the pictures and the guidance, and even having a journal. So now we can take the next piece that you were talking about and have a gratitude journal after making this vision.
A journal.
Yes.
I have the journal.
Right.
This is one of many. But but journals are important. I could pull out parts of that journal and what, again, so I journal to prepave, right? And so journaling is, to me, is, I start writing, not necessarily that and some of it is the things that happen during the day, but it's the things that you desire, like your life. You start writing your life story, like the things that you want to experience, but you do it in real time, as if it's happening right now.
Yes.
And again, it's like the vision board, the journal, those I can put my hand on things and say, wow, it's almost like, how did I do that?
Yeah. Those are awesome manifestation tools. And with manifestation, not only is, okay, so there's the thought that whatever's for you is for you, and that's great. But once you are actually in tune with what you feel and what you need and who you are and what your purpose is, then your vision board can never be wrong. Your journal can never be wrong, because you're going to be coming more and more into alignment with what your purpose is and why you're here. And so your manifestation is then going to be in alignment, which then only helps put the intention into the atmosphere that brings the return.
It absolutely, and it is. I mean, again, thoughts are things.
Yeah.
And you are who you think you are. Thoughts are that you become who you think you are all day long. And you may not have the outward materialized realization of it. There may be no physical evidence of it at the moment, but if you stay focused on that thought, it will materialize. It has to.
Right.
Absolutely has to. And I've got, so on our website, the Serenity to Success website, there's also the vision board. And then there's some sort of, if you wanted to do some learning on your own, some self-coaching and things like that, there's programs for that too, where you can reach for a program and if it's just a 6 minutes to success where you get a daily affirmation, where it's just something positive. It's like that, again, waking up with gratitude. And so, for those that aren't there yet, I mean, but if you can reach for something though, that can begin that process. And that's what it's about. It's planting a seed and nurturing it and seeing it all, come to fruition. Again, I mean, I'm a kid that, again, nothing for nothing. I mean, I was a kid that, I always said, it's like, you grow up and people are telling you, you grow up from nothing and you're always told you're less than nothing, and so it's like, but it's like, you can hang on to those disempowering beliefs, or you can really, be like, no, I don't have to accept any of that,
Right.
Just like everything that's going on, no matter how sort of daunting it may appear, it's interesting in life, we've always had, and I've always had my biggest sort of jumps in life when under moments where things seem like they were adverse, like when the economy tanked back in 2000 and whatever, I was having the best year of my life. I was really, for sure. Like, well, we were having like the best, and I look at, so now it's like, it changes your perception of even the things and challenges that we're faced with now.
Yeah.
Because in me, I look at it as like, oh, this is an opportunity. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity for reinvention.
Right.
And that's what we should all be looking at right now. How, and so we're being forced in many ways to reinvent ourselves. Yeah. But it's your choice.
Absolutely. You always have free will. There is a channeler that I like to listen to who says, should you choose to accept this mission, right? And then she goes on and on. And she goes, but you always have free will, so you can say no. And I'm like, well, who's going to say no to that? Who's going to say no to getting better? Who's going to say no to improving? Who's going to say no to, but I guess those people are out there. How can people work with you? If I were in need of a coach like you,
yes,
Mr. Ross, Mr. Michael Ross, how do I work with you?
Well, again, we've got the website. It is www.serenity2success.com, and you can reach out via that and submit, if someone just wants to, and I'm doing just complimentary, if you want to just, talk and do like just a 30-minute session, we can do that. I'm working on a YouTube channel now too. And on that, really, I'll just be offering some coaching, just information. I'll just say it that way. It's not really coaching. It's just, I'm going to share with everybody the things that I do that I feel are helping me in my life to be just more productive and more imbalanced and feeling more empowered and helping just really to navigate the day to day. And again, listen, I've told you today I spent my whole morning really kind of saturating my mind with information that I thought would get me out of, we all get into these little ruts or these mind spaces that can be a detriment to ourselves. But, you know, listen, when you get that way, keep feeding yourself, though, the stuff that's going to empower, right? Keep reaching for the right kind of information. And there's so much out there, you know, and so my goal is to be able to be a conduit for that information. That's the books. And so I'll be reading different books that I read, you know, and sharing that. So some of it will be readings, and, you know, and I'll share some of the beautiful environment and scenery that I'm fortunate enough and blessed enough to have around me. And so those are the things, but serenity to success is the way to do it. And, you know, and we go from there.
Okay. I'm excited. We're going to put the links in. And as soon as you have your YouTube page, unless it's already up, we'll put it down there too, so people can start to check you out. And I don't know if there's any higher vibration than you today. I haven't seen it.
Well, Tiffany, I appreciate it. I always do. You know, and love you dearly, and I always appreciate your friendship, your kindness, your open heart. I mean, really, and I've always again, just always enjoy it. You know, always enjoy these opportunities. So, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. I'm sure I'm gonna have a request to bring you back. So just, you know, be ready. and then next time we're gonna bring Mrs. Ross so she can show us her vision board.
Yes, I've been trying to encourage Mrs. Ross to do that. She's she gets a little shy sometimes, but I think
so awesome.
Yes, I agree.
I can tell you, on the plane on the way back from Sedona, and just random times her words will pop into my head. She's like, and I wake up and I just meditate and I go and I do this. I'm like, I need to do what Mrs. Ross is doing, because
you know, she has such an amazing story. I would do a disservice telling it, but her story of where she came from and what she had to overcome to be where she is now. And, you know, she's an attorney, and, you know, and just, you know, from parents that didn't know how to read or write, you know. I mean, her journey and her story, I mean, I'm looking forward to the day when she feels compelled to share that, because I think it will empower so many, you know, women of color especially, that I know it will have a really profound effect in a positive way. So
we'll keep giving her the gentle nudge, but I'm hoping that she gives me the first exclusive.
I think when you do if you should have a vision board, you know, party or visionary or whatever, you know, maybe we could do it where, you know, we zoom in and she could, you know, kind of talk a little bit about it. I think that would be an awesome idea. And I have a feeling, I think I could, you know, nudge her out there for that, you know.
Yes.
And, you know, we created a story of her alter ego. We're trying to do these like stories about it. Its name is Justina Fearless. That's where we get the Fearless Productions from. It's because it's a character we created called Justina Fearless, but that's another story for another time. So
we have to have you back. I do love that idea about the vision board. So we'll put it together. And as always, I love you and thank you for spending time today.
And we've got to do, you know, so next year, in the spring of next year, we're going to do a retreat in Sedona, a wellness retreat.
Yes.
That we will, so I'm sending out the intention right now that this is going to happen.
And I receive it.
Wonderful, weekend getaway in Sedona, a wellness retreat. So just populate that idea. It's going to happen.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.